it starts with, in business, change is constant. If we are not improving, then we are losing to our competitors. Is it the same for government when competing for jobs against other states?
Yes, it is. And I think that's well put. I think it's not much more to add, except that it is something we should bring to public responsibilities, just as businesses are forced to do it all the time. But you know, to pursue the point a little bit, if we are successful in seeing some of this year's measures passed, as Marilyn has been explaining, the inevitable process of compromise means that there will be lots of local decisions and possibly very different systems, or different systems in different counties. I don't personally think that's the worst of all outcomes. It's certainly an improvement over where we are. And one reason is that it will introduce, I think, a level of comparison, maybe competition among counties. Just as it exists now, when we compete with other states for business, that's exactly the mentality that we have. We're always looking to see how we can improve Indiana's competitive position, our taxes, our regulations, our laws, our infrastructure, and so forth. And, you know, counties need to think that way too. How are we going to build the very best place for people to live or maybe to locate a business?
We have 3 questions that I counted here that are all on the same subject, and they're basically, and perhaps because you're in Allen County, and again, our local media has put significant light and heat on these issues. So 3 questions that say basically, if we have some bad actors, why don't we just get rid of them instead of trying to restructure local government?
Well, I think you talk about, as we talk about townships, for example, and it's been brought up, one of the criticisms that we've had in recommending one county executive is that, well, and this is from folks who are all for keeping that level of government that's closest to the people, is, well, that person's just going to appoint all of their family members and their friends to the jobs that in the community, the jobs that they have control over. The fact is, I think, that it will be a much more transparent operation if Mayor Henry were to appoint Mrs. Henry as the Director of Human Resources for the city of Fort Wayne. And Tom Henry comes from a big family, I think, so if he had his 15 brothers and sisters that were appointed to different positions of responsibility in the administration, do you think anyone would notice? Absolutely. And they would notice because the attention from the media, the attention from the public is much greater on that unit of government that people believe is the most important unit of local government for them. That's different at the township level. It does not have that kind of scrutiny. And when we talk about 1,008 of them across the state, again, you create a system. You have a system that makes it more difficult to have the kind of oversight that you should have. That not just comes from the State Board of Accounts, but also comes from citizens that live within the community and representatives of the media. And so, again, you want to obviously find anyone who's not playing by the rules, and you want to get them out of that job, and you want to do everything you can to make sure it doesn't happen again. But you have a structure that does not allow that to be a very efficient process with 1,008 different units of government that I think could use more oversight.
We have a couple of questions related to the state process by which these bills will be considered. One is asking, when will the House vote on these items? And do we have a specific date and time?
Well, nobody knows nobody knows when, because nobody knows if at this point, and that's where you come in. I mean, I will say this: there's a great opportunity here. I think Marilyn mentioned 2 of them are important and influential, respected legislators, Representatives Moses and Giaquina, 2 great examples. If people like that will go to their leadership and say, let us air these issues, let us vote on them. There is support for it, and it's in both parties. And so we're just very, very hopeful. But I think that on both sides, but certainly on the House side, there's been an indication that maybe this all doesn't rise to the level of importance to deal with this year. Those of us who think that it absolutely does need to be heard. And now that the agenda has moved to the House side, that's where it needs to be heard most urgently.
And a follow-up question related to that subject. This all seems logical to me. Why don't the legislators get it?
I'll say they don't get it because you haven't told them to get it. So get to it.
Okay. How do we get local governments to buy in?
Well, I think you have local governments. The Indiana Association of Cities and Towns supports the recommendations that we made. And I think there is a human factor here, obviously. You've got, again, some 5,000 township officials that many of our legislators know, many people in their communities know, and there is personal influence that is a part of the process. And there's an understandable passion about this because people have these responsibilities today, that many of them would be in danger of losing their job. So that adds to it. But again, we believe that for a lot of the reasons that the governor touched on, and really at the core of it, for better government in Indiana, that this all makes sense.
I mean, when we were together most recently in Kokomo, there were 7 mayors, maybe, Maryland, evenly divided between the parties, right there with us, showing their support and helping with the questions. And there was lots of testimony from people holding these jobs today. Don't paint with one brush, because there have been a lot of current county commissioners who say this, three-headed thing is not the best. There have been lots of township officials, for that matter, who say it's really time to do this in a fairer, more effective countywide way.